Hope you're having a good Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming in for breakfast and a little harvest bake from all the strawberries, or all the rhubarb that I have out in the back. It should be a good one. Can't wait to get into this. If when anybody jumps in, if you could just hit the like button so I know everybody can hear me and see everything okay, that would be fantastic. I would really appreciate it. And we'll give everybody just a second while I hook up to the comment section. I can already tell it's going to be one of these mornings where I am not. Words are going to come a little harder than normal for some reason. Let's see if we can't find them. For some reason, I am not finding my live stream on the monitor this morning. Let's see. I'm going to back out of it one last time and refresh it. Sorry, buddy, if you're here waiting. But we will get into it. And we do have a lot of stuff. There we go. There it is. The internet's running. I don't know if everybody else has noticed, but my internet has been running slow all weekend long. Everybody seemed to have been complaining about their internet this weekend. Other content creators that I've talked to, they've said their bandwidth is very, let's see, got to bounce out for my church live. It is Sunday, Val. No problem, no problem. Good morning, Rick. Hey, Pat Z. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming in. But yeah, we're going to make some rhubarb crisp. My rhubarb is about 3 to 4 feet high. If you can tell, I'll show you here just real quick. I just picked this about 20 minutes ago, and these things are humongous. These things are fat, and they're needing to be picked. And actually, I picked a couple of them, and they're already starting to split. And I've already made a rhubarb crisp for Ming to take to her mom and to her friends, and I'm on my second batch of rhubarb crisp already this week. So, and I made a smoothie yesterday. So the rhubarb is definitely in season right now, and it is so good. Now the rhubarb that I'm using today is Heirloom Victoria rhubarb. This is the 4th year of this plant, so it's definitely ready. The first year that if you have rhubarb doesn't always produce great the first year. It usually needs it 2 seasons. But the nice thing about rhubarb is I can cut from this plant all year till into November, really. Late October in my growing season. I'm in, I think, 5B growing zone, so I can get mine up until October 1st of November. I do have the oven heating up, and we're going to make a nice crisp out of this. This is so easy. I know nothing about rhubarb. Yeah, and I'm gonna talk here a little bit about rhubarb. Now, rhubarb is just like almost the same consistency of celery. It's just not as stringy as celery. And one of the things with rhubarb is, if you get a chance to pick it yourself, one of the things you want to look out for with rhubarb is you want to take off the first, let's say, 2 inches underneath the leaf of the rhubarb, because the leaf is actually really poisonous. You want to go down at least 1 inch to 2 inches. Make sure that your stalks are at least 6 to 6 inches in length, generally, and you want to cut that off. Now, what the leaf produces is called oxalic acid, and what oxalic acid does, and the reason that it's so bad, is that it'll take the calcium in your bloodstream and it'll solidify it. So, and even if you're prone to things like kidney stones and things like that, rhubarb is something to watch out for. It's harmless if you cut past that. But I don't even I put almost everything in my compost pile, but I don't even put the leaves of my rhubarb into the compost. I leave it completely out. I just throw it into the wood line. Or I also use it because the leaves are so big. They're just elephant ear sized leaves if you're growing it yourself. I lay it over the weeds to kill my weeds. So that's a natural weed killer. If you have like patches of grass you don't want, lay the rhubarb leaves over top of it for a few days, and a lot of times it completely kills it off. Okay, so the oven is up to temperature. But what I'm gonna do is, because I just fresh cut this, is I'm gonna kind of cut this down just a little bit, and I'm gonna throw it over into some vinegar, like a vinegar water spray, and I'm gonna rinse it off. But I'm gonna make the other stuff in the meantime, so we're not just sitting here watching that kind of thing. Except for the bloodstream, I don't know anything. Let's see. What's up, Smoking Bears? I just saw you a little bit ago. What's going on, buddy? Watched on TV while doing stuff. Well, thanks for showing up, Mr. Penguin. YouTube. That's the same inches as side. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, for a lot of guys, this would be, 6 would be 12. So that's just something. The beags won't try and eat the leaves. No, the beagle does not like, most things don't like leaves of rhubarb. Like, they know ahead of time what to eat and what not to eat. But I also have a sheep pasture behind my house. It's not my farm, but I don't throw it far enough into there where the sheep can get it, because I don't know if they would graze on it or not. But here's the bottom part, and you want to make sure that's the leafy part. When you harvest rhubarb, you just want to pull it off. You don't want to cut it. You just want to pull it, like it, kind of back and forth sort of motion. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cut that bottom piece off, because, and like I said to begin with, this is a recipe for the for crisp that you can use with any fruit. It doesn't have to be rhubarb. It doesn't have to be anything. As long as you have 3 cups of the fruit, you're in good shape. And you don't want to dice the fruit down. You want to kind of roughly chop it, but you don't want it. But since this rhubarb is so big, I'm going to have to kind of take it down the middle. Normally I would just dice it up, but the smaller pieces, and I want to get off, like I said, where the splits are. I'm going to cut that piece off and all that. Now, when we were kids, we used to eat this. We had a rhubarb patch at my parents' house. It was my great-grandparents' rhubarb patch. And we would take a bowl of sugar out and cut it down, rinse it off with a hose, and we would dip it in sugar and just eat it like celery. But, farm kid stuff. But I'm going to cut these split pieces off. And you don't have to peel it. You don't have to peel it. That's not gonna bother you any. I need to take my glasses off. My glasses are great to see, like, the board. But it's terrible to do when I'm like looking right at stuff. So I don't chop my finger off first thing on a Sunday morning. Sunday morning here. A lot of people, I don't know where you guys are all at, but Sunday morning, about 11ish. And we'll get a little better shot down here of that. We don't need beard cam all morning. Let's see, we cut that bottom chunk off. Now these parts, the bottom, there's nothing wrong with the bottom. You can keep it. It's just, it's kind of like it's leafy. Not leafy at the bottom, but it has a layer from where it grew. It starts out in bulbs. They almost look like Brussels sprouts when you first get them in the springtime, and they usually start right at the end of March. So I'm actually kind of behind on my cutting of this, but I only have, and if you decide to plant some, if you have some extra room, it doesn't take a lot of room. And if we could get mobile here with this, I would take you out and show you. But I just have it right at the corner of my house where it gets a little bit of sun, and it doesn't take a lot of room, and it produces a lot. And there's a lot of things. Like I say, I make smoothies out of it because it is really, really good for you. It's supposedly good for helping you regulate your blood sugar. And it's not high in sugar. To be honest, it's really bitter in a kind of a Sour Patch Kids kind of way. It's like it has some sweet, and then you get it, and then it has that finish to it. But anyway, and on this, now with this recipe, I'm going to use 1/3 cup of sugar. But if you were going full rhubarb, let me start that over. I'm doing 1/3 cup of sugar instead of 1/2 cup of sugar because I don't know if you guys can see it, but I've got some strawberries. I'm going to throw those in there. That's a good mix. Blueberries is a good mix. any kind of berry is a good mix with rhubarb. I haven't found a berry yet that doesn't match rhubarb really well. And you should use for the topping of brown sugar, but I don't have brown sugar, so we're going to do a molasses sugar mixture. That's kind of a hack in case you don't have brown sugar laying around. So there's that. So let me get this sprayed off. I got to just jump off and jump over here just a second and spray this down. And one of the things with rhubarb that's kind of interesting is that, let me see if I can swing it over to my sink a little bit. Bring it over to the sink just a touch. But I just water and vinegar 50-50. And for cast iron collectors, you know you got to have that 50-50 vinegar water mister laying around here anyway. And we'll just let that sit for 5 minutes while we cut up the other stuff. And then we'll rinse that off, and that'll be, you won't taste the vinegar one bit. So we'll swing back around here real quick, and we'll start putting the rest of it together. I'll get my strawberries cut up. The strawberries have already been washed. And you don't want, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna 50-50 this. We're just gonna quarter, and then some of the strawberries are bigger than others. And we don't want it to take up all the room in there. So we're gonna go, let me get some, actually I'm gonna get some gloves on too, because I don't want my hands to get all sticky because of these strawberries. But I hope everybody's enjoying their Memorial Day weekend. This was always the weekend when my grandmother was living that we would go out and put flowers at the cemetery. And no, I'm not doing that today. I will go out this week and do it because I don't have as many relatives around as we used to, at least in the area. I still have a lot of relatives that's not in the area. I don't want to make it sound like I'm the last of the Mohicans or anything, because that's not nearly the case. But I'm going to do 3/4 a cup of the strawberries, and then I'm going to do 3/4 a cup of the rhubarb, and that's how we'll do that real quick. And if your strawberries have spots on them, these were actually strawberries that they do have some spots on them, but just cut those off. It's not going to matter. It's good for smoothies. It's good for that kind of stuff. I do want to shout out Smoking Bears. I watched him make holiday sauce as a redo from earlier in the week, and it looked really good. It looked really, really good. There we go. Some nice big strawberries. I've got to go, speaking of that sheep, the lamb and sheep farmer next door, I want to go to his farm later on tomorrow and see if I can't get some lamb's wool. Lamb's wool is really good as an organic matter around your plants, like strawberries, tomatoes, that kind of thing. And I want to see if I can get some lamb's wool from where they sheared as some matter for around my garden plants and my garden beds. Works really, really well. Let's see here. Those pieces, like I said, these little spots, they're not going to hurt nothing. It's just where they've been laying together, just where they've been sitting together growing. No big deal. Put these down just a pinch. You can rough it. I mean, they don't have to be, your rhubarb you want about maybe 1/4 inch pieces, but strawberries, you just don't want the strawberries taking up all the room. And like I said, that's why when I get to the measurements here in a few minutes, that's why we'll get down to 1/3 cup of sugar instead of 1/2 cup of sugar for the filling anyway. Because that's where, if you put the full, I found that if you put the full amount of sugar into it, it actually makes it so sweet that it's really hard to eat at that level. I mean, it's just too rich. And once again, nothing I make here on the show is doctor recommended, that's for sure. Like I've said many times, 4 out of 5 cardiologists and family doctors recommend that you probably do not watch this show. or take anything that I do as being, but I do try to use a lot of natural ingredients in my cooking and cook it in cast iron cookware. So that's about 3/4 of a cup. The other two strawberries I'll save for I'm gonna make an omelet here in a little bit. So there's that. See, check my comments. No, everybody's kind of quiet today. That's okay. It's Sunday morning. It's supposed to be a little quiet. Let me see here. We'll put these. We'll just go ahead and throw these in the bowl and our container there. Off to the side. Those. And then I'm going to go over here and rinse off. Let's see. And I'm going to go ahead, I guess while I'm waiting on that, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to add my 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Don't want to jump around too much or I'll get lost. But we can just wait. We'll just wait on that. So we want to get, try to get my arm in the way. So we'll do 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And I use minimally, I don't know if it's unrefined. They call it unrefined sugar, but it's not white sugar. So it's not brown sugar, but it's not white. It's not overly refined white sugar, all the way to white. Let me see. And then I'm gonna want to get a tablespoon of all-purpose flour in there. A little less, because I'm not using so much sugar. Normally it would take a full tablespoon, but I'm not using quite as much sugar, so I'm not going to use as much flour. Maybe just maybe. Let's see, there we go. And then 1 tablespoon of water, and it actually does make a difference. So we'll get that, sorry, out of that over here just a little bit more. Sorry to shake the camera. There we go. And 1 tablespoon of water. There we are. Tap water's fine. It's got a filter underneath there. We've got that. And where else are we at? So, and then we're gonna do a teaspoon of cinnamon. Teaspoon, not a shake. Teaspoon of cinnamon in there. There we go, that's out of the way. And then we're going to do a teaspoon of nutmeg. Teaspoon of nutmeg. And you can adjust that to, I generally would recommend 2 tablespoons of at least some kind of spice of your choice. Let's see, teaspoon of the nutmeg, and then I'm gonna do a little shake of allspice, and I'm also gonna do, because if you use spices, you gotta use black pepper, and a few twists of black pepper in there. Black pepper will make it pop. Believe it or not, that's a trick I would learn from Graham with their pumpkin pie, and I've just adapted it to everything. Let's see here. We're going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to rinse off my rhubarb. Get my rhubarb rinsed off, and then we'll finish up the other 1.5 cups of fruit with our rhubarb. Let me rinse that off real quick. There we go. Rhubarb, and some more rhubarb. And if we need more, we'll get it. So there we go. Okay, and like I said, we'll just cut this in there real well. Cut down about pieces about yay size, about 1/2 to 1/4 inch thick. And these are going to really soften up really, really well. Really, really well. And like I said, we want about, let me see here. What did I do? I did 3/4 of a cup. I wanted 1.5 cups of strawberries. Okay, so we'll just add the rest of the strawberries and we'll do the rest of that. let me see, let me get my 1.5 cups of rhubarb, and then I'll adjust that to another 3/4 cup of the rest of this fruit. And that's not going to make a big difference, as long as we got our 3 cups. So we got a 3/4 cup. Yeah. All right. When I did this the other day, I did a half. I did it in a half amount for 2 different people. I did 2 different bakes for 2 different people, and I cut them in half because of the containers I put them in. And what you want to do, and you want to make sure, if you see recipes a lot of times for apple crisp and on the recipe sections, like on the internet or in books, it'll say for an 8x8 pan, which if you're using a cast iron skillet like we're going to be doing today, you're going to want to, that would be a number 8 or a number 5 size skillet. But on this, I found that using the number 6 is the better way, because if you use a number 5, it will bubble over. And this does bubble over, so you don't want that. A lot of people make this with, and like I said, the other reason I'm not going to get out more strawberries, because it doesn't really, it's not going to make a huge difference as long as you have 3 cups of fruit. So there we go. And a good sharp knife for rhubarb really does help. A good sharp knife, because this stuff. And one of the things I was going to mention about rhubarb that I kind of got sidetracked on, with one of the things is if you're cutting fresh rhubarb, you don't want to get the piece, there's what's on the rhubarb stalk, and it'll be its own stalk, and it'll actually look like cauliflower at the top or broccoli at the top. And that's the seed pod. And if you have rhubarb and you're just starting to grow your own rhubarb, you want to always remove the seed pods at the very bottom so that it doesn't continue to grow. And the stalks are actually no good as well, because let's see, it'd be a 1.5 cups. 1.5 cups, sorry. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So I want a 1.5 cups of that, not 2 cups. I was getting sidetracked. Cook cast iron in real life. That's all it is. So okay, so we got a 1.5 cups of that. So we got a 1.5 cups there. And then let's see. So we're going to need 3/4 cup, and I'll just use this off to the side. So since we already have another 3/4 cup, we just need another 1/4 cup of fruit, and that'll make our 1.5 cups of the other. So there's that. So that worked out right. I was right in what I laid out. I was just not right as far as the strawberries went. I was just right. I got kind of sidetracked there for a second. But anyway, back on track. All right. Let's see. I don't know anything about this. 5 Beegs highly recommended is good. Recommended this food. Yeah. The Beegs is not a rhubarb fan. The only thing the Beegs wants to do with the rhubarb is to take it and run away with it like a stick. So we've got our other 3/4 cup of fruit. So we're all good on that. And I've got rhubarb for later, a couple stalks for later to snack on, which that's okay. I don't mind that one bit. So we have our filling pretty much done. Have our filling, and we'll just mix that up. And I've got my pan over here. Do it left-handed so you guys can see what I'm doing. And get that all mixed in together. And this smells so good. It smells really, really good in here. I love making this stuff. It's like having it's like having a candle. And after the fish we made Thursday, I tell you what, my house could definitely use, after we were done with the fish and the French fries Thursday night for the fish and chips episode, this house could use all the smellums it can get. Let's see. A little dark in here. I think I'm going to throw the overhead light on right quick. I've got the curtains all opened up and everything, so it's pretty bright in here already. And I have the overhead on the stove. So we've got that. And that's about if you can see it, that's about all you need for the filling. The filling's done. So we'll set the filling off to the side, and we'll bring our pan over, which I've had on the exhaust of the exhaust burner. So it's not incredibly hot. It's not incredibly hot, but it's warm. And that's what I kind of wanted. I just want to sort of preheat it up. And then we're going to take and I'm going to throw a pat of butter in there, because you do want to grease the pan. And if anybody's looking at my pan and going, oh, that doesn't look, it looks like it's got some spots on the sides where it's not seasoned up very well. Well, the reason of that is that I don't use this pan. This Wagner number 6 is what this is, unmarked. And I use this exclusively to bake in. And when this pan heats up, I've used it for so many different things over the years, and I don't ever hit it with soap. This is one that never touches soap and barely even really touches a whole heck of a lot of water. And when I heat this up, it smells like vanilla and cinnamon, and the pan itself has a really good one. And this pan is one of those that it's a late 60s. It's like the 57 on to 69 pans before Wagner sold out in 69. So it's still the smooth-sided pan with the smooth bottom, almost like, you know, your Sydney O's or whatever. But it doesn't have the rough sides. But the sides are very well seasoned on here. So it does have that going for it. Because anything after 69, as far as I'm concerned with Wagner, is just, I don't know, that's a wall hanger. They're wall hangers to me after that. They're just so rough to work with on the outside, at least the skillets are, that even like taking rags and stuff to the outside, it just shreds them. It's sort of not worth it's not really worth the effort to put in. So we'll just put this stuff in here. Filling. Right there, and even that out. Man, that's looking really pretty. Looking super pretty. And everybody's quiet. We have quite a few people watching today. But it is Sunday. It's a quiet morning. And even though it's been really busy here with graduations have been here this weekend, Memorial Day's been weekend, the neighborhood's been oddly quiet as well. I have the patio door open, and usually there's about a gajillion kids out there, but they haven't even been out there to do anything. So I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm going to put that back on and what I mean by the exhaust burner, I'm going to put this back here, and that's, you know, my exhaust burner. If you have an electric stove, you know exactly what I'm saying, or any kind of stove really, as far as my knowledge goes. They all have that one, and it'll keep my pan warm so it doesn't get shocked when it goes in. So then we're going to go to the filling part of it all, or the topping. Go to the topping part, which this is super easy, but it can give you fits if you don't. There's a certain way to do this with the molasses substitute, which I'm going to do right now. So what we're going to need for the topping is I'm going to need 1/4 cup, or one. I use. It calls for a cup, but I go a little over a cup of rolled oats. because I like to have an even topping. So I'm going to go with just slightly over a cup, but not quite a quarter of the rolled oats. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to do the sugar, because the sugar is one part I gotta do I gotta do the little molasses thing on. So we'll skip that part. So we need 3/4 cup roughly of sugar. It calls for a cup, but we're gonna leave that. We're gonna take that down a little bit because of the strawberries. And we're gonna do three-quarter cup of sugar. And then if you don't have brown sugar like this calls for, and you can use, for crisp, you can use either or dark brown sugar or light brown sugar. It doesn't make any difference at all. But since we don't have that, I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of unsulfured molasses as to turn it into brown sugar. So we'll just dump that out into there. There we go. And I'm gonna wipe this off right quick. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that that's really well incorporated into your sugar, or you're gonna have molasses spots in there, and you don't want molasses spots. So we'll get that off of there, put that on the other side. Molasses is handy to keep in your kitchen. Sometimes it's just nice to eat a little, if you're feeling a little sluggish during the day. This was another thing my grandma used to say. If you're feeling a little sluggish during the day, a little teaspoon of molasses will get you going. Get your energy back up. Set that over here. Set that thing. Let's see. So we're going to get that really good and incorporated in there. Do that. Let's see, any comments? Beak scam, please. Yeah, here in a second I will do beak scam. But generally the Beaks wants everybody to hit the like button on the screen for proper beak scam. She works for likes. She works for likes, and I'm making her a scrambled egg here in a minute. She's due for Sunday breakfast, and her Sunday breakfast is going, since I'm making spinach omelets today, and she's not a huge fan of spinach. She usually just grinds spinach up. Even if I try and put it in something, she'll just end up grinding up whatever it is I gave her. And it ends up I got to clean it off the floor anyway. So she's just going to have plain egg for Sunday breakfast. But yeah, you want to, even flattening that out helps. And that's why I like using one of these silicone spatulas for this. And if I need to, if it's not, and I've got a little play on that sugar too, so if it's a little more, there's a little more molasses than what I want, which there's, in my book, there's no such thing as too much molasses, but molasses isn't for everybody, just the sexy people. So there we go. But I can't wait. I think I'm going to do some grilling this afternoon. I think I got a couple steaks in there. I think I'm going to do that. And I've got a big bag of spinach in there, so I'll probably do a spinach salad with some feta cheese. There we go. There you go. It may seem like a lot of work to do this, to make brown sugar, but it's way easier than if you forget brown sugar or you don't have it, than going to the store to get one thing, which I absolutely despise doing that. It's one of my peeves. That's why I have so many, that's why I like to know as many kitchen hacks as I can, because it saves you in a crunch. And then I wanted to give a shout out to Ming, my youngest daughter. who graduated high school yesterday. And we went to her graduation ceremony, which was pretty cool. I was pretty proud papa yesterday. My last one to graduate. And I tell you what, she did great. And then we went after that, and we went to a place called Circle of Friends restaurant, and I had a gyro, and we had some pancit, and oh gosh, what else did we have? Some curry chicken, and then we went to one of our favorite ice cream places, which we have many favorite ice cream places, and we went to Dietz's in Findlay, Ohio, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you've never heard of Dietz's and you're going through on 75, stop there and get ice cream. I had the toffee crunch, and it was fantastic. Let's see. Yay Ming, yeah, 100%. She did. I was so proud of her yesterday. And my daughter, and Ming, you're watching, who was infamous for bad information, told me that she was going to graduate because she homeschools. She homeschooled through high school, which I'm really proud of her for doing that, because that's a lot of work for one person to do. And especially, you know, when you got to rely, sometimes your parents are your tutors or answer questions, and online, doing anything online can be difficult. But she managed to knock out 4 years of online school, and she's turned out to be an amazing young lady. Absolutely incredible. So then we're also going to go with, so here's where I'm going to put in 1 stick or 1/2 cup of butter into there, and we're going to work that in when we work in the oats. Now I got this softened up. You can actually warm it up if you want, but I've just kind of had it on the stove softening. But you can warm it on the stove and just mix it in, because there's no eggs in this, so that makes it, you know, you're not going to curdle anything. And then what I'll do is I'm just going to cut the oats into that, and then we're done with that. We're going to top it up, and we're going to throw it in the oven, and then we're going to make breakfast. Make some omelets, which for anybody who has started out with cast iron knows that for folks that don't know, eggs can be kind of difficult. But this, I got an easy way of doing my omelets, and they look like you get them from a restaurant. Put that in there, and we'll just mix this around. We're going to flatten that out just a little bit. Flatten that out into there. And like I said, this is the this is one of those dishes that's a cardiac doctor special. They highly recommend that you probably don't eat this. So we got a little over a cup of oats, and I'm going to drop a little bit of nutmeg into that as well. Oh, and a half cup of flour. That's the other thing. That's the other reason we're going to cut it. So we're going to put a cup of flour in there. That's what I was going to do to begin with. Let's see, 1/2 cup flour. Perfect. Perfectly measured, by the way. Perfectly measured. And I'm going to throw just a little bit of nutmeg into this. I'm just going to sprinkle that into the flour. It doesn't have to be. You don't want a whole heck of a lot, but I like a little bit of seasoning in there. And just a little bit of allspice for that. Not too much. Allspice is one of those, if you're not familiar with it, or if you are familiar with it, you know that allspice can be a little overpowering if you let it. Let's see. Good morning, Mercy B. Good morning. Happy Sunday to you. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. White Mountain Girl. Good morning. Good morning. The Queen of New England has showed up and graced us with her presence. I thought you would be at work this morning, making those delicious eggs, making your world famous eggs, by the way. The best eggs I've ever seen. Let's see. Cut this together. Put this over here. There we go. Put this in a little bit, and then I'm going to mix it. I'll mix it as well. Little dough cutter. Dough cutter seemed to work really well for this. So, but I don't want to really incorporate too much into there. I mean, it doesn't have to be. You want the butter around, but you still kind of like if you were making a buttermilk biscuit is okay. Kind of about that much, like that. And we'll give it a stir and see how it looks in there. But we want to make sure everything's where it needs to be. This is some sticky stuff. Let's see here. She is at work. Well, good. That's where I need a sugar mama. She should be at work. Somebody should be working today. Thankfully, well, I'm working today, but I'm not. I work from home anyway, so I'm technically at work right now. Technically at my job, sort of. It makes for a really nice commute, I can tell you that. Let's see. All right, so there's that. Did everyone go back to sleep? I know, I don't know. It seems like, oh my gosh, everybody dropped out. My molasses hack must not have been as interesting as I thought it was going to be. That's for sure. Maybe I should start being on the camera. Maybe that might help. Or it may not help. It probably wouldn't help, to be more honest. Now one of the things with this is it may not look like it's very well mixed up, but that's not it's not gonna matter because, I mean, it is mixed up. It's just it's a dry ingredient. If you want it to be a little more gooey, melt your butter first. I find that it doesn't make any difference because by the time this all goes together and everything's where it's gonna be, then you're not really, it's all gonna bubble up. So you're gonna have that. And then I'll just move this off to the side for a second. I'm not sugar mama, but you got a great sugar beads. Yeah, I'll swing over here now. I got a second. Beagle, what are you doing? She's been on point all day. There were some kids out earlier, and then the neighbor's dog Archie got loose and was in our backyard. And I don't think she knew what to think about another dog being in her backyard. She was not. She was pretty curious about that whole thing. Let me grab a trivet because this pan is kind of warm. Beagle, you gotta move. You gotta chuck out of the way, kiddo. There you go. Okay, so there we go. Our pan is pretty warm. And we're gonna throw this on top of there without making too much of a mess. I wish I had more of my bowls. I wish I had bowls that had the pour spouts on the side. It'd make my life a lot easier and a lot less messy. Try and get that as even as possible. There we go. And we'll just pour all that out. And like I said, if it looks a little dry, it's okay. Because there's a reason that Apple Crisp, all these crisps were like number one of the top 5 at least side dishes for most kids in the 70s and 80s because it's kind of a foolproof recipe. So there we go. All right. Nospan 01. What's up, buddy? Good to see you Sunday morning. Glad to see I'm not the only one up. And one of the 3 people in the chat. Oh, that's funny. But these are, it's a holiday weekend, and these things, they're kind of, the weekend lives are kind of hit and miss. I can usually count on quite a few people for the Thursday night, but the Sundays on the weekends, like I said, it can be, you know, sometimes you can have 500 people watching and other times you can have 10. Just the way it is. But if any of you know me, and this being the 75th video I've done today, should be 75, I believe, if I looked at the thing right, which I don't look at the stats very much. Usually I watch the replay once to see make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat that somebody else wants to talk about next time. But I'm not looking at the stats too much. Even though I could use a few subscribers to get this thing, I'm not really worried about the monetization, but that way I can get my links onto it, because I can't do any advertising for the products, Seven Shamrocks Beard Company or Cast Iron Cure, until I have a certain amount of subscribers. And I don't want to do a full vertical, one of the ones where it's live on in the shorts section, because I just don't really, I don't know. It's not really what my show's, my little channel's about. I try and make this more like home access from the 80s. So that's what we got right here. Like I said, it's going to look a little dry, but by the time this goes over, it's going to bubble up and it's going to be really, really nice. Just got back from flea market. Did you score anything? It does not have to be cast iron related, because I love all things flea market. Love all things flea market. I almost went, Medina, Ohio had like a scare flea market sort of thing yesterday. And I thought about running up there and checking it out. They were doing all kinds of cool stuff. They were giving away, they redid the Conjuring house, wherever I forget where the Conjuring is. And they were giving away, they were selling pieces of the Conjuring house. Now, I don't know how cool that would be to bring something like that home, but it sure looked, it would have been cool to see, you know, it would have been cool to see the stuff. And they were they had the Warrens, they had some artifacts from the Warrens that they were auctioning and selling, and so it was kind of, if you're into that kind of thing, it's kind of neat. I like horror movies. I'm a horror movie fan. So let me rinse this out, because I'm gonna need this cup, because we're gonna go here to omelets here as soon as this pan, as soon as the pan heats up. See if I missed anything from Naz, if he said they got anything, because that's pretty interesting. If you ask me, I think it's cool when people get cool stuff from the flea markets. I've about decorated my entire house with flea market stuff. I find it really easy to do. I only have 2 glass measuring cups, and I find it really easy to pour the eggs in for omelets with one of these measuring cups with the spout on it. So let me just clear off my work spot here a little bit. And I've got this, I need to set this for 45 minutes, because we're going to have some of this, whether it's hot or not. And generally, I like to let my crisp set up for about a half an hour, but I'm going to have it anyway, because I'm going to have some with ice cream after I have my breakfast. So that is what it is. Yeah, I got a Revolutionary War a butcher knife, 6 inches wide, and must weigh 25 pounds. Really? That's pretty cool. Now, are you talking like a cleaver style knife, or just a regular bladed knife? Like butcher knife? Because everybody kind of calls their things differently, depending on where they're from. So let me grab some of this stuff out of the way. Which I don't have a lot to do with this omelet. And if we have time, in between the omelet and when the rhubarb comes out, I've got a rant to do about Lodge Cast Iron, because I have a bone to pick with them again. And normally I'm a really big Lodge Cast Iron fan, but they've once again came out and devalued my pans. Some ones that I bought that were collector piece. supposedly collector pieces. But Lodge in their reissue, and I know why they do it, and I don't blame them for doing it, but sometimes it kind of screws the buyer, because when you buy something, the first time I noticed it was with the buffalo skillets and all that, and then they did the same thing with some other ones that they brought back that they weren't saying. They said they never. It's kind of like Kiss. Like they say, Kiss says they're never going to come back, and they do an end of the road tour, and then 6 months later or a year later, Kiss tickets go on for sale. And Lodge can be kind of like that. And when you're a collector and for people that flip cast iron and do that for a living, like I occasionally do, reissues are not cool. I got you. I'm only setting that griddle up to, which is just a Lodge griddle. Now, for omelets and scrambled eggs, for eggs in general, I like doing the, let me fix this camera real quick. Sorry. This screws anybody up. I hate doing this, but sometimes you got to. Let me just adjust this real fast. Let's see. Cleaver style. Come back again and I'll show you. Nas fan. Back again and I will show you. I don't know what to. Yeah, you'll have to elaborate on that just a little bit there, Nas fan, because you kind of lost me on that one. But I do want to know what you're talking about. Let me see here. Okay, so anyway, let's get to making our omelet. The only way to make an omelet is to crack a few eggs. So we're gonna cut up some stuff here on the side, because this is the fun for folks that don't come in often. I think it's kind of the fun thing that I do on these is you always get a bonus. You always get a bonus. A lot of times you get a bonus recipe. Let's see, Art Friend. Art Friend. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Let's see here. So we're just going to cut up some pepper. And this is just, I love omelets because you can just make an omelet out of just about anything that you have laying around. So we'll just dice this up real quick. Okay. Oh, is that Ray? Ray and Martha? I gotcha. I see now. Thanks for showing up today, buddy. That's so cool. I hope you guys are all well. Hope you guys are doing great. Enjoying the weekend. Yeah, I should be back. I should be over stopping by your place fairly soon. I think our mutual friend Artie Bliss will be in the area here really, really soon. Don't forget, hit that like button. Yes, please hit the like button. The like button has been very neglected on a lot of these lives here recently. And, you know, for folks, I had somebody email the other day about doing a certain couple videos on certain things, and they're a long-time subscriber. And there are a lot of my videos. I have 75 videos total, and some of those are regular videos, informational videos, some restoration tip videos, lots of shorts. And and the pans that they were talking about, I did shorts about them. So if you haven't checked out some of the other videos, maybe some people don't know that they're out there, and that could be something. Let's see. Yeah, Naz fan 1. Yeah, you are probably the biggest Nazareth fan out there. So I'll chop a couple of these end stems off of here, and we'll get those off. I don't mind some of the stems, but you know, stems and seeds are something that you don't need, according to Cheech and Chong. And if you get that reference, you just stepped up another rung on my cool list. So there we go. I haven't seen Fuzz either this morning. He's probably still sleeping. He probably gets pretty cozy with those cats. You know, you get a pile of cats on you, and that's probably a pretty cozy place to sleep. You know, you pile on, what, half dozen cats on you, you'd probably sleep like a rock. It's got to be warm. Okay. So we got this part. Oh, I'll cut that big piece off there, that big stem off. There we go. And is anybody making anything good? I'm looking for menu ideas for tomorrow. So, and I'm hitting my freezer after this. After I go out and hit the garden a little bit, I'm going to hit the freezer and I'm going to see what I can thaw out. I was thinking lamb chops for tomorrow, but I'm not sure. Now, one of the things I will show you, if you guys have never, for the folks out there, if you've never made a spinach omelet, this may seem like a lot of spinach for one omelet, but this cooks down to nothing. I mean, this cooks down to nothing. I also have a few onions in there, sliced from, I already did those because I didn't want to get too much on my, I don't like onions on the board. I have such a hard time with this board in particular, picking up onion smell, that it's just gotten to the point for me that I just don't even cut onions on here at all. I just don't do it. It's just not worth it. Because then it's like hours of work to get that smell back out of this one. Now my other boards, and I have a lot of boards. I have the one surfboard. If you ever get a chance to get a surfboard cutting board, get one. They're so handy, especially when you're cutting up celery and longer things. You know, stuff like that. They really work. Good leeks. Those surfboards, the surfboard kind are really, really handy to have. Set this one off to the side because I think I'm done with it. So I've got two good size, like a handful of spinach in there. I don't know what that would actually work out to as far as weight goes or anything, but that's what I have in there. And then I just have a few slices of onion in there. And then I've got some cheese, I've got mozzarella and Colby Jack shreds, and then some mushrooms. Did you see those okay? Yeah. So those are in there. And then I'm going to do 3 eggs. Normally I do a 2 egg, but I'm going to do 3 because any leftover egg that I don't need, that's what the Beagle gets for breakfast. So, and she is a big fan of scrambled eggs. She loves a nice scrambled egg. And the other news I got yesterday, which was really cool, is that my daughter is getting chickens here really soon. So that means I get eggs again. And with the price of eggs, even though they say they're coming down, which they are a little bit, free eggs are free eggs. And I do not complain about free eggs. So, oh, I've got you guys all out of the picture. Sorry about that, guys. I got everybody all messed up. So I got about, I don't know, half cup of cheese there. I got 3 eggs. We're gonna go ahead and salt and pepper our eggs up a little bit. I normally throw some garlic or onion powder in there, but I'm giving, like I said, some of this is going to the Beegs. And she's not a big fan of garlic or onion. And then I'm going to grab a splash of milk that I don't have out. And just put a splish of milk. Some people want water, some people want milk. If I do scrambled eggs, I don't put anything in it. But with an omelet, it doesn't seem to matter too much. And what I was going to get into with the pan I'm using just a regular Lodge round griddle. And I like doing eggs on a thicker skillet. as opposed to my vintage skillets because, you know, it's thicker. And it seems to me that, like, when I use the really, really thin cast iron, which it's awesome for sandwich, like grilled cheese sandwiches, things like that you want to toast. If you want to toast something on your griddle, it seems to work really good for that French toast. It makes the best French toast ever. But as far as like eggs go, I try to stick with my the Lodge round griddles because it seems to give you got a little more play in the eggs. And one thing I didn't get down is I didn't get down a plate. Oopsies. So get on a plate real quick. Hopefully I can sneak by without knocking the camera over to do that. There we go. All right. Managed to do that. That's always good. We got a plate down. And I like to, some people get out their KitchenAid to do these. Let me see, Mercy B. I see your salt and pepper shaker. Do you have the other one? Do you have other ones? Yeah, I have a ton of salt and pepper shaker. This one is actually salt and pepper too. Maybe you can see that. My turkey and pot and Dutch oven, that's a salt and pepper shaker too. And then I've got 2 or 3 on the table and all that. Oh, you milking the cats this morning, Fuzz? Good to see you though. Hope you're having a good weekend. Kind of a nice, cool Ohio morning. I've been digging it. Hoodie weather, hoodie and shorts. That's a famous Ohio dress. That's like the Ohio dress code. A hoodie and shorts. It's kind of like what everybody wears. Let's see. Which means the weather is just right. Okay, so that's done. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide over here to the round griddle, which I really wish I had a big burner right here instead of the big burner being in the back, but you work with what you got, right? Do you have cast iron? Let's see, that's what I'm talking about. Do you have the cast iron and egg? Yeah, we're doing omelets, doing spinach omelets. Spinach and mushroom omelets, because I'm feeling pretty saucy. And I have a big bag of spinach. So I've been eating spinach like Popeye all weekend long. All week, actually. Because we were gonna, my daughter Ming was gonna stay here in a few more days, and we were gonna make spinach lasagna. And she ended up, because it's graduation yesterday, and then graduation party this weekend coming up, she couldn't. She had to do other stuff. So she ended up going back early this week to do her graduation stuff and all that. And then we got the graduation party, which I'm cooking for the first time on a Blackstone this weekend. I was going to take a grill with me, and they offered her aunt that's hosting the party is going to break out she's got a Blackstone, which she says nobody has really used. So I get to use that, and I'm gonna try seasoning her Blackstone when I'm done with some cast iron cure, because there's a lot of people out there that don't just use the cast iron cure for cast iron and carbon steel. They use it to season their Blackstone. Which one of these days I'm going to get off my lazy ass and I'm going to update my labels, so people know to do that. So first, we're going to do the spinach. We're going to do some mushrooms in here. Do some mushrooms. And like I said, it seems like this is going to seem like a lot of spinach, but it isn't. Because this is going to cook down to just about nothing. Absolutely nothing. And one of the cool things about spinach is that when you, like these stir-fry vegetables, you want to stir-fry them really quick so they don't lose their nutrients. Well, that still happens with spinach But when you do that with spinach, it makes it easier to digest, which is different than a lot of vegetables, which is different than some vegetables. And that was something I didn't know till here recently. So you're going to lose some of the nutrients in it by cooking it down like anything else, but it makes it more soluble for your body to actually digest the spinach. So you're really getting more vitamins than you would if you ate it raw. Kind of weird. Let's see, waiting for Badger to season the pizza stone in the oven. Pizza stone in the oven. Are you messing with me? I think you're messing with me. Let's see, I guess that's a no. I have salt and pepper shakers that is like that. One is the shape of cast iron pan and an egg. Oh, really? That's cool. Where did you is it a newer salt and pepper shaker, or is it like a antiquer? Because I got that thing. One of my other daughters, when she was going to school, worked at Cracker Barrel. And if you guys know me, Cracker Barrel is okay, but when your daughter gets a 30% discount on stuff you get from Cracker Barrel, you get skillets and get to go to, I'm an absolute fanatic when it comes to their home store. I love the home store. Season everything, it protects the finish. If I had a pizza stone, I've had pizza stones, and I don't like pizza stones because they crack. At least all the ones I've ever had cracked. Let's see. Like I said already, this stuff is already starting to come down. And this has such a great, I love spinach omelets. Spinach omelets. And spinach is one of those things that I do not like. I'm not a fan of canned spinach. I remember my mom, we used to watch a lot of, because people watched like cartoons, like Popeye was still a thing when I was a kid. But we used to watch a lot of Popeye cartoons and stuff like that. And so I remember my mom, I was like, I want to have spinach. I want to eat canned spinach. I was a little kid, probably 6, 7 years old. And my mom's like, oh, you'll hate it, you won't eat it. And begged and begged and begged for a can of spinach. And lo and behold, Ma Badger did hook me up with a can of Popeye spinach and made it, put butter, salt, pepper on it. And I absolutely sat there for hours and I had one bite and I'm like, oh my God, that is the worst stuff I've ever had in my life. Let's see, in homemade wedding soup, it is good. Yes, it is. No, it's from Cracker. Okay, Mercy, if you're like me, I love the home store at Cracker Barrel. I go in there, and it's hard for me not to go. I was in there the other day just to see, I was at our local Sam's Club, which is local to me, is 30 miles away. But I went to Sam's Club, and right next door to Sam's Club here is a Cracker Barrel. So I do go in there just to see if they've gotten anything new. And they did start carrying the heart-shaped skillets, the little Valentine skillet, like I showed in a couple videos. And what was the other thing? What was the other thing they had in there that they hadn't had before? Gosh, what was it? What the heck was it that they had in there? I'm trying to think. They brought back the what's it say on the back of it? Something about old style has always been my style. And I have that skillet over there. It's buried behind the other ones on the shelf. But they brought that back, which is another one that the person from Lodge, the rep I talked to at Lodge, said they weren't going to bring back anymore. And I bought that one. I should do a video on all the collector skillets that I bought that Lodge said that were limited and rare that are brought back. Because I bet you I've got 4 or 5. I would have to have 4 or 5 limited edition Lodge skillets they swore they were never going to bring back, and then they brought them back. Which, if you can't tell this morning, it's kind of been a crawl in my ass that they did that. But whatever. Whatever. But I've seen a lot of people get screwed. I remember back in 2018, I was looking for the buffalo skillets, and they were supposedly, you know, one of the ones that come out once a year. And I found a restaurant store that had them on closeout, and I got them for really, really cheap. And then I put them up on, I put them up, the other two, I kept one, and I had three from this closeout thing, and I got them for cheap. It was like 12 bucks a pan. And so I put them on auction with a minimum of like $18 or something to start, because I wasn't trying to make a bunch of money off of them. I just wanted to cover my cost, and you know, I charge for shipping, so it doesn't matter. It didn't matter for, you know, how much the shipping cost, because the buyer was paying it. And by the time it got done with the auction, which was a 6-day auction on eBay, those things had went up. One went to $75 and one went to $81. So there's other people out there that when Lodge says they're going to do, they just do limited run on things. And then they brought those, and then a year or two later, they brought them back, the buffalo skillets. So there's, you know, there's other people out there, you know, and you can get a buffalo skillet now for like, what, 20 bucks from the website, if that. Sometimes cheaper. And I don't have this up really high because I didn't want I'm trying not to, so that's why this is taking longer than just like a minute or two. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm sitting there letting these saute a little bit. I'm going to, one of my buddies sent me indigo colored trivet with a 15 by 10 cookie sheet. The Lodge cookie sheet fuzz, is that what you got? Oh man, that's looking good. That is looking good. And you'll see what, oh man. I wish I could take this off the camera without, or off the camera off the stand without absolutely ruining my picture quality, or accidentally hitting a button in green screen. If you guys ever remember, if any of you guys were here for that, I'm sure most of you were. Let's see. So I'm just going to pull these off. Then I'm going to put these off in a bowl because I am ready for the omelet section, the omelet part. And I always heat my stuff up. Now this is, I know there's about a billion ways to do an omelet. The way I do not like my omelets is the way Gordon Ramsay does their like those people that I do not like my omelets that way. If you can pour out your omelet onto a plate and it's like a hollandaise sauce, I don't want anything to, I just do not want anything to do with that. That's, to me, I don't know if it's a texture thing, but if you can pour your omelet out and it's like a curdled hollandaise sauce, man, you've lost me on that for sure. So yeah, and for folks that are watching out there that say it's hard to clean cast iron, yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Let's see, I'm going to do a little more butter because I didn't have, let's see, on trip to the Dirty Jers, dry eggs only. You're talking about Jersey? New Jersey? I don't know if I've ever been to New Jersey. I'm trying to think if I've ever been to New Jersey or not. It's like I've never been to New York City. Every time I've been anywhere near New York City, I've tried to go around it. Though I hear it's fun, it's just never been something that was in my wheelhouse to say so if I don't ever get to New York City, I think I'll be okay. I've been to a lot of other big cities, but not that one. Let me see here. Throw just a little more butter. I like a lot of butter on there when I do the omelets. Yes, sir, New Jersey, where only the strong survive. Have you ever heard of, I went to college with a guy who was from New Jersey, and he taught me the word, the Jersey switch. Do you know what the Jersey switch is, Handsome Stone? And when he told us what it was one of those, it's an urban slang thing. And when you find out what it is, it's actually pretty funny. And it was something, as a young 18-year-old from the middle of nowhere, Ohio, I'd I never thought things like that actually existed, but they do. It was an eye-opener for a young man like me. I grew up as there, never heard of it. Never heard of it? The New Jersey switch is where, say you have a husband and wife. You're okay, so you got one married couple, and they know another couple. Both couples divorce, and then the divorced couples end up marrying the other spouses. Like you know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Yeah, that's what he was referring to, which I thought was hilarious at the time. And I still think it's pretty fun. So then we'll pour this out sort of even. I got a little dip in the, ever since I fixed that last burner, I had to fix the thing that holds your burners up. I had to fix that, and I had to grind it down because it wasn't letting the burners sit right in there when I bought the new burners a few months back. And when I did that, well, maybe the beagle's not getting her. I'll try and save a little bit, but I don't know. I might need all that egg. Because if it's too thin, it doesn't flip out the way I do my eggs, or my omelets. If it's too, it won't be strong enough for the last part. So there we go. Yeah, the Biggs is gonna have to, she's gonna have to ride on that. So I'll get her an egg. She'll be all right. Man, I'll tell you what, I grew up in an area, I grew up in rural Ohio, and I grew up in a place where, I mean, it's illegal to marry family members here in Ohio, right? But I will tell you this, I knew a girl that I went to high school with, and two guys that I went to high school with, and they had, so the two guys that I knew were cousins, and they had the same last name. And this lady that I knew, and this happened actually, I could go on to a few different people because I lived in a small town. A lot of people still live there. But this one girl I knew, she married one cousin, got divorced, and married the other cousin, and she didn't have to change her last name when she got remarried because it was the same as the previous cousin that she was married to. So... and the thing of it is that they had kids. You know what I mean? Like when she was married, the first guy, they had a daughter, and then she got remarried to the guy's cousin, and they had a son. He had two sons. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm not a judgy person, so you make a call on that one. If your cousin's good enough for us. It's not my cousin. It's not my cousin. Not my cousin. I did not go to the family reunions looking for dates. I can guarantee you that, my friend. Guarantee you that. So let that get a little harder, or a little crust around the edges. And I like to do this. Normally I'm not above using a metal spatula on my griddles. But for this, I find that if I do it that way, and then I try to do this part, then a lot of times I'll rip it. And since I'm doing this in front of people, I generally want this to work. And normally I would get some more cheese, but I don't think I'm going to do that either. So there we go. There we go. Now a lot of times people will try and flip them and do all that stuff, and I find that to be kind of a pain in the ass. So what I do is I just get this out here about this far, if I can do it, and then I just flip it like that. And viola, there you go. One omelet, any way you want. And it's not all burnt up or anything, but it's done. And it's done in the center. That's the most crucial part of everything. So, pretty happy with that. You guys can see that okay? Can you see it okay? It looks a little, it's funny, on my monitor it's looking like it's almost orange, and it's not. It's a nice yellow color. We'll give that a second to cool off and get my orange juice. Oh, it must be getting, what time is it? What time is it? Oh, it's a little after 12. Yeah, it's starting to be noonish. So the neighborhood's starting to get, people are starting to get going. Should have brought in some parsley. That came out pretty nice. Look, show me, can I join you for breakfast? You sure can, Mercy B, anytime you'd like. Heck, I'd even fly you in. I'm that kind of guy. I've been on an orange juice kick here lately. Usually it's not my thing, but I have been this past few days. Must have been needing vitamin C. Part of the show where I spit out my gum, set it off to the side, and we'll got a knife, and I will grab a little bit of Tabasco sauce, which I'm getting down to, finally getting down to the bottle. It takes me about 4 months to get through one of these big Tabasco bottles. I love opening fresh Tabasco. It's one of my jams. And I want to do, here in the near future, I want to do a Tabasco show. Because Tabasco is one of my favorite things. And I'm not a super collector of their stuff, but I do like their memorabilia when I can come across it. I do have one of the oh, what do you call it? The fajita pans. There we go. Ooh, that's good. Yeah, I don't fly. You know what's funny? I don't fly if I can help it. Mercy be, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of commercial anything. And I would take buses, but I'm snobby. I'll just put that out there. I'm kind of a snob, so I don't ride buses either. But I don't fly and I don't ocean. I do not. That's really good. I could have maybe sprinkled a little more cheese in there, but I do. You do Greyhound? I actually had a chance to get into a program when I was a lot younger, an apprentice program, to be an underwater welder. I had a friend of mine who was an underwater welder for Exxon, and he's like, man, because you got to do it. You only work for 5 years and you can retire, make tons of money, see the world. But he would tell me stories about having, like he would have to go down, like at the end of the day, when you have food and stuff like that on your, like you have your chow, chow hall and everything like that, and everything that was edible, if it didn't have certain things, you could throw it over the sides. And so they would throw it over the sides. Well, then say that was like 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. Well, then they detect a crack in the rig at midnight. So you'd have to go down. You'd have to go down in the middle of the night at midnight. Go down where they just threw all this food into the ocean, and you'd have to get into an oxygen bubble, and which is literally an oxygen bubble, and you'd have to weld in the middle of nowhere ocean, and do that. And my buddy would say, "Oh yeah, man," he goes, "You'd have stuff bump against you." And stuff, and you didn't know what it was. I'm like, oh my God, that is just terrifying on such a level that I can't even imagine it. But my buddy he worked for 5 years, bought a Cadillac and a house. But, and I was a good welder. As a kid, I grew up my dad taught me to weld when we were like 10 years old. I could weld, I was a certified welder for a little while. But man, I had no intention of ever doing that for a living. And he had me dead to rights wanting to do it until I started. We were drinking beers one night at the bar, and he was just telling me like horrific story after horrific story of being in the middle of the ocean, getting just all kinds of stuff like that, and the storms, like the hurricanes and stuff, and how it would rock, and it would go. They go feet in direction, like they don't just. You wouldn't think about it, but they those rigs will rock like feet to one side at a time and go back feet. I mean, that would just, oh my gosh, that sounds like a horror movie to me. I'd feel better about going and saving kids from Annabelle in a Warren's movie than I would being in those kind of conditions. But yeah, this is really good. So if you think you have to flip your omelets and all that crazy stuff, you can, and nobody ever knows the difference. Nobody ever knows the difference that I don't do that. There we go. Okay. I'll put that off to the side. Put that off to the side for now. Oh, they make huge money. Especially you got ones like my buddy who would sit there and just live. I mean, he had they would just get like mobile homes like right off on shore, and they would just get, these guys would just rent out mobile homes. And you'd put as many people as you could fit into them at a time, and they would and these guys would live in these mobile homes for nothing and just save their money for 5 years. It was like going to college plus another year. It's like undergrad and a year of a master's degree, and they were just, and you came out and you had, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They live in train cars across. They have a train tour across Canada. Really? That's kind of cool. Let me see what the other one says. Whereas I want to do a train tour sometimes. Oh yeah, I would do a train tour. We have train tours here, of all things. Okay, I'm going to move this. We're not just staring at that. I'm going to get my area set up here because I'm going to break this. I only have a couple more minutes on the crisp to be done. And I'm going to tear into that. I'm not going to let it cool before I try it and let you guys see it, because it really doesn't change much as far as the appearance goes anyway. But, oh, I forgot my Tabasco on there. An old steam engine would be cool. An old steam engine would be cool. Yeah, that would be sweet. Now, Mercy B, I know you've said this before, and you don't have to say the city but what part of the country are you in again? I wish I had as good a memory as I used to, but I have CRS now. So if any of you know what CRS is, you know how hard it is to remember anything. California, okay. The upper part, lower part, middle. Because it's so big. I mean, you go from one part to the other, and it's like a whole different country. At least it was when I've been back there. I was there when I was a kid, until I was, for a while. But I had relatives that lived there for a long time. None of them live there now, but they all did. In San Francisco, Palm Springs. Let's see. Mercy were affected by the fires. Mud lower. Oh, mid lower. Mid lower? Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, that's Tabasco. That Tabasco sauce is what it needed. Only the smoke. Yeah. I can imagine. What was it? Something like 80,000 acres burned up? I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of acreage to go up. I mean, my farm, when I had my farm, I had an 80 acre farm, and that was a lot. And I tell you what, I couldn't imagine 80,000 going up in smoke. Anyway, Let's snack on this for a couple more minutes. Let's get this out of the way. I'm still waiting on suggestions for something. I'm looking for menu ideas for tomorrow. And I want to do something a little different than burgers and steak. Like I said, I might do lamb chops. Let me fold this back up. Sorry. This has got to be annoying for everybody out there. But this thing, I've got so many different levels here, which would be nice if I just had, this is how I'm making the beads, a little bit of egg. A little bit of eggs for the beagle. She doesn't need a whole heck of a lot. Okay. Biggs, you got an egg. There she comes. She knows what it is. She knows egg and chicken. If I say there's chicken out here, she goes crazy. She goes crazy when I say it. Chicken. There she is. Say hi. You don't have to do a trick for the egg, but it is probably kind of hot. So, there you go. Delicious, huh? All right. Beaks can. Yeah, she's got her egg piece, so she's kind of happy. All right, so I got 2 minutes on the, I'm going to check. I'm going to go ahead and check this out because I'm saying that this bad boy is done. Be damned with the timer. I think it's about finished, and it does smell. Oh man, did she even taste it? Probably not. I was thinking it might have had some. I used that. I scraped it off of that. Not. I hope that I didn't get a little hot sauce on there. I'll know if she starts drinking her water here in a minute. But she's having some. She's having some of her kibble. And if she eats her kibble, I know she's hungry. Let me see here. Yeah, she did. She liked it. She tasted. That is tasting it for that dog. Little scavenger beagle. Yeah. And once again, for those folks, I just did an egg omelet. For those folks that maybe aren't in the chat but are looking for my eggs, to clean my egg or my skillet afterwards, I'm doing it. That's all I do. That's it. Unless I'm going to put it away for a while. But there's tons of butter. And eggs, a lot of people don't think about this, and I don't hear people talk about it, but eggs are one of the best things in the world to season your pans with. Absolutely one of the best things. That high protein and everything. If you guys can see my back burner, it's so dirty. From all that deep frying we did the other night, I just noticed it when I moved the fryer pan. I went to clean the fryer pan up Thursday night. That's all seasoned to the bottom. I got to get in there and clean that bottom pan, that bottom drip pan out. But this is all I do. That's all I do to my pans for my griddles. And then that's officially done. Okay, so this is perfect timing. So that's done. And this thing for sure, this rhubarb strawberry crisp is 100% done. It's got a nice brown top on it and everything. What did I do with that trivet? Oh well, luckily I have a bunch more laying around. Throw another one up here. I don't know where I set that other trivet off to. It's probably right in front of my face. Okay, we'll center that up. Get you guys in there so you can see there. Yeah, it looks fantastic. And I'm just saying that because I'm the one that made it. And I love this recipe. I really do love the recipe. It just flies. And you can use anything. You can, if you got 3 cups of frozen berries in your freezer, it works great on that too. And like I said, it calls for a, there we go, voila. Look at that. Can you guys see the bubble on that bad boy? That is just going. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Give that just a second. Just like, I'm gonna give it just a few minutes, a minute or two, to kind of cool down, because you really want to let it sit about a half an hour. But I'm gonna throw some ice cream with that, because that's my breakfast today is omelet, spinach omelet, which started out to be a really good, and some orange juice and coffee. And I'm gonna follow it up, since it is after 12, with some apple crisp and vanilla ice cream. But yeah, that recipe is one of those that just, you can't beat that. And it comes out, and like I said, when I said before, if it looks dry when you first do it, it's gonna bubble up and it's gonna rise. And I mean, on this, the recipe originally, now I've doctored this recipe up over the years, but originally it calls for 3/4 to a cup of rolled oats. Now I've went actually to, and for those who were here at the beginning, you saw I went all the way as far as to go almost a 1 1/4 cup, and it's still bubbled over top of it. So if you wanted to go up to 1/3 of a cup, maybe even a half a cup, once you've done the recipe a few times. But it is nice and crispy up here. I mean, it's real nice and solid. I mean, that's 100%. 100% what you're looking for to make a crisp. I lost my orange juice. I'm just losing it. There it is. Lost everything this morning. That couldn't last cool in my house, yeah. And like I said, Mercy, I don't think you were here at the beginning. This pan on the inside is not seasoned very well, but this is the reason I use this pan every single time. Number one, it's a 9-inch pan, so it's a cake pan, it's a pie pan. It's all those sizes. And so it does this, it eats away at your seasoning. People will say, well, if it's really well seasoned, it won't. But, I might take this and leave it in the pan, and once it cools down, run over to my mom's and take her some and take it back. I mean, I'm not worried about the seasoning coming off of it. Every time I do use it, I clean it, and then I heat it up, and I use cast iron cure on it so it's not going to rust. But that's just my baking pan. And you can see, like I said before, it started all the way to the rim with the in this size, and the recipe, a lot of times when you see an apple crisp or any kind of crisp recipe, it says 8 by 8. It does settle down, but it's the initial part where it'll be all the way to the top. And if you get it like that to begin with in a size 5 cast iron skillet, it's going to bubble over, and it's going to be a mess. There was no mess to this inside the oven, nothing even on the sides. So it works out. The number 6 works out really well. Yeah, rhubarb is pretty acidic, no matter how well it's seasoned, and it will eat seasoning. Yeah, it does. And I know people will debate that, but I mean, I've had stuff with brand new seasoning or 5-year-old seasoning that I've had for years, and I take it camping and make something with tomatoes in it, and the seasoning's gone, and then you got black stuff in your food. Especially, it's one of those things. It's one thing if you're going to take it right out, but this has got to sit technically for a half an hour, and then you got to wait for people to eat it, and all that kind of stuff. And you want it to look nice when you put something out there. I mean, I don't want to just get this, make it, and do it all that trouble, and then let it cool, and then take it apart and put it into a Tupperware or a glass bowl or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to make some room. I'm going to get a bowl out, and we're going to dish some of this up now that it's done bubbling. That off to the side here. Little bowl there. That going. the ice cream scoop out. Just like everything else today. There it is. I was gonna say, I hope I can find it. Seems like every time I go to look for something today, I can't find it. So anyway, there's that. We'll get out the Breyers vanilla, which I just had ice cream yesterday, so I shouldn't be eating this today, but it is what it is. Get some Breyers vanilla going. Move this off to the side for just a second so we can do a little serving up, dishing up. Okay. So let me get out one of the, get the silver streak out. Take a little bit of this. Can you guys see that okay? Kind of got it out of the picture. That is nice and hot. That in there. Some of that real crispy stuff off to the side. Push our pan back out of the way a little bit. And there we got that. Let's get it all into the picture. You guys see that okay? Yeah, okay. And then top this with a little bit of vanilla ice cream. And a little scoop of vanilla. Oh yeah. Look at that. How fun is that, guys? How fun is that? Oh, shoot. There we go. There you go. There you go. That's what everybody, that's exactly, you're making, when you start out and it looks terrible when you start out, that is exactly what you're after. Exactly what you're after. I should have, oh man, I should have had some coffee. There we go. Hey Bob, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the long weekend. Okay. There we go. Try to get this a day in court. Oh man, is that good. That is so good. It's got a little bit of crunch, and it'll be a little gooier and crunchier too if I let it sit, but I'm not letting it sit. That's right where you, that's honestly right where you want it. It's like fresh apple pie that you don't have to wait for. Well, that's great. And that little bit of ice cream cooled it down just right. Just right. Let's see, Hunter. Oh no. Look, Shummy, thank you so much. And welcome to the show. Good to see you on this beautiful Sunday morning. Or afternoon now. It's afternoon. So I guess I made sort of a brunch with the cobbler, with the crisp dessert. But yeah, I mean, put that up there where you guys can see it. That looks, that's exactly what you want right there. And it's got that, if you've never had rhubarb before, you know, go back to the beginning and check out the recipe. If you're using straight rhubarb, you know, add more sugar than what I put in, but I got strawberries in there. So that made up for the sweetness that I didn't need so much sugar in it. But yeah, this is definitely worth it. And if you have rhubarb and you've never made rhubarb crisp and just made rhubarb pies and things like that, definitely give this one a go because it is 100% worth it. That's out of the park. 100% out of the park right there. Mercy be, you're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Sleep in tomorrow if you can. So I'm sure you probably earned it. Let's see here. But yeah, I think I'm gonna jump off here. I got some gardening and stuff to do. I'm still debating on whether or not the rain's gonna stave off long enough to where I can mow today. But I want to just thank everybody that showed up. Mercy B, Val's Black Cats Rules. Thanks so much for showing up. Let me see. Fuzz was here. Rick was here. I mean, there was a good. Yeah. Val, thanks for coming by, and thanks for stopping in for brunch today. Really appreciate it. It's always way more fun to make this stuff when you guys are here, 100% of the time. But yeah, thanks to everybody that showed up today. Enjoy your weekend. Be careful. Stay off the roads if you can. And yeah, please hit the if you haven't already, please subscribe. There was a new person that was just jumped in. Sorry, I couldn't see your name very well, but if you want to come back sometime, hit the like and the subscribe button, and we do this at least once a week. Bob, thanks so much for stopping in. I do appreciate that. And everybody that's in here, it always surprises me when I shut the cameras off and I see how many hundreds of people actually stop by, and even if it was for just a little bit to check everything out. But I'm gonna let you guys get off here and get going, but just remember, your kitchen is your restaurant. Make it any way you want. And I will see you guys in the comments section soon. All right, see you.